Hey guys, what's up? This is Josh Haynes coming at you. Wanted to go over a piece of gear that I've been using exclusively for the last almost 2 years, and that is the Line 6 Helix. And the one in front of me is the LT, which is the little brother to the regular Helix, and which I have as well. That was the first one I got, was the regular one, but I also got the LT later as a backup. But I happen to have been using this one more lately. But each one serves as its spare. So if one goes down, I can just load my presets on the other one and be good to go. But these hold up to regular gigging very well. I use them all the time. But basically, as far as how I use it in preset mode, generally speaking. And then if I want to access any other bypass switches, I just hit mode. And I can access the other bypass switches down here for wherever I'm using them for. So that's how I use it. I know there's snapshots, but I haven't really gotten deep into that. I've barely scratched the surface, really, to be honest with you, when it comes to the full functionality of this unit. So, but anyways, I was introduced to this unit by a buddy of mine named Richie Castellano, who's also a killer musician, as well as a Star Wars nut. He's got a lot of great tutorials on his YouTube page, and I'll put a link below for his YouTube page. But he introduced this to me, and in fact, actually helped me set up a couple of the patches via Skype. So that was very helpful. Thank you, Richie. But as far as just the basic sound you heard on the beginning of the video, really all I've got going, the amp model I'm using is the Archetype lead, and basically what that is that's modeling the PRS Archon, which I happen to own, and I love that amp. And that was actually one of the selling points, besides the functionality and the tones you get from this. That was one of the selling points, is that it had this amp, because my goal was I wanted to kind of duplicate the rig I was using as far as like with the Archon, but duplicated in the Helix. And one of the reasons I decided to go compact like this was because I was bringing a lot of pieces of gear. When I was using the Archon, I would use the head, I would use a Mesa Boogie cab clone because we go direct. Then I would have a pedal board with the amp switcher, the channel switcher, I mean. Of course, my delay, a clean boost, and a harmonizer, and stuff like that. And then I would have a separate Digitech RP7 for the Piezo side. So you can imagine having to keep up with all that crap trying to do a gig. It just got to be very tedious. So with the help of Richie, I was able to do everything but do it all through the Helix. So that was the goal, and I've accomplished that, and it's awesome. So, as far as that sound you heard, it's just the Archon. Then over here is the impulse response, which is basically the cabinet I'm using. And I'm using the Ownhammer 412 Bogner ST, and it's got the vintage 30 speakers, and the mic is, I forget what model that is. It says 70, but I'm not sure what mic model that is, but it's supposed to be on the edge of the speaker. So that's the model cabinet I'm using for the IR. And really the only other thing, as far as the sound goes, is just a simple delay. Normally, I have my Vox Time Machine delay that Vox no longer makes anymore going through one of the loops. But for the sake of this video, and since I'm going to put this patch on the Line 6 website and make it available for people who want to download it and try it for themselves, I just opted for the simple delay. So you can tap tempo as fast as you want or as slow as you want, and you can get that. And that's basically it. So, or you can buy a time machine like me and use the use the time machine. But the delays on the Line 6 Helix are great. But the only reason I use the time machine is because I've gotten so used to being able to move the chicken knob heads with my feet when I'm playing. I know that sounds crazy, but that's also my favorite delay, so that's why I use that. So once again, I'll play the clip that I played at the beginning to kind of show you how it sounds. Alright, so you heard, once again, that's the Archon with the Wagner cabinet and the simple delay. And I've got some other stuff on here too. Like, for example, I use this modulation chorus. I use that on some of the Sammy Hagar era Van Halen stuff. Because if you listen to the albums on a stereo, it sounds like he's using some chorusing. So to kind of achieve a sound similar to that, I use the chorus. Then, of course, I've got a wah. That's pretty self-explanatory. And a harmonizer for certain songs that require harmony. Now, the EQ, for the most part, I've got that mostly flat, except maybe the high gain to kind of maybe give it a little spike in treble, but generally, for the most part, it's flat. But the way I use the EQ pedal for the most part is as a clean boost. And what I do is, if you notice, at the heel, the level is at 2.5. And then when I push it up, it goes up to about 7.5. And that's just how I'm used to doing the clean boost. And so I just push this up, push it back, pull it back down for rhythm. So that's how I do that. And this loop right here, that's just for when I'm using the time machine, and normally that would go where the simple delay is. So, and here's how the Archon sounds with the chorus. Alright, so here's where things get interesting. In the video, I'm using a Music Man JP12 John Petrucci guitar. And basically, the goal in getting this Helix was I wanted to be able to consolidate a lot of things I was doing live. And normally, before I got the Helix, I would use my Archon amp with a Mesa Boogie cab clone because we all go direct. Then I would have a pedal board with multiple stomp boxes on it. And then I would have a Digitech RP7, if you remember what those were like. I would use that for the piezo side, and then I would use a stereo cable to split between the RP7 and the pedal board. And then, of course, I would have a channel switcher for my amp. That got to be a little annoying, having to keep up with all those pieces. So with the help of Richie, we were able to set this up to where all I would need is the Helix, and that's it. With the exception of the time machine, but that's just something I prefer to use. So basically, only having to take this versus all those other pieces really saves a lot of time as far as setup goes, and I can do other things. But basically, as far as using the piezo, I have to use a stereo cable. So, and as far as the stereo cable goes, basically what that is you've got two mono lines, 1/4 inch on one side, and then you've got a stereo 1/4 inch on the other. And that goes into the stereo jack of the JP12. And on the electric side, we're using the regular guitar input, but on the piezo side, we're using return 1 as the input for the piezo. And here's what the piezo sounds like right now. So here's my clean patch, and for this I'm using the double normal, which is basically a Fender Twin, and using the EQ similar to how I'm using the Archon patch, just the level for a little boost, a little delay, a little reverb, and I'm using the Kinky Boost. In the band I play in, we do the song I Can't Tell You Why by the Eagles, and it just adds a little bit of compression. It's not overly ridiculous. It just gives it a little bit of boost to where it's not too overdriven, but just enough to get the point across. So I like that a lot. Then I've got a chorus and then a unit vibe if I ever want to use it. And I've got piezo action going down here too. So using a little bit of EQ to tailor the sound. Then we've got reverb, a little bit of delay, more EQ. Really, I'm just using this to kind of boost the acoustic some. And then the impulse response I'm using for this, I'm using a Takamine model, which sounds great. I like it a lot. And so this next clip is going to be demonstrating the clean sound, the acoustic sound, and then them two blended together, which sound awesome. So there you have it, guys. I didn't want to go too crazy on this video, just kind of wanted to give a rough idea and show off a couple of the tones on the Helix that I use on a regular basis. For those of you who might be interested in downloading these tones and are Helix users, whether you have the rack, the LT, or just the regular Helix, I'm going to make these tones available on the Line 6 custom tone print website. So if you want to try it for yourself, you can download it from there. The Helix is capable of a lot more tones than the tones I've demonstrated on this video. I've even used the Helix for bass gigs where I've had to sub for bass players, and it's got bass amp modeling on there that's great. So whether I'm subbing on bass or guitar, that's what I use as the Helix. And the other thing too is that not only am I able to get the sounds I'm used to from my previous rig, I've cut my setup time in over half the time it took me to set up my previous rig. For a place that already has PA, all I need is my guitar and my Helix, and I can be set up in less than 5 minutes. All they need to do is give me an XLR cable to go to the Helix, and I plug in my guitar, and I'm ready to go. That's all there is to it. So, but anyways, thank you guys for watching, and if you want to subscribe to my channel, there's a guitar pick to your right that you can click on to subscribe to my channel. If you have any questions about the Helix or anything like that, let me know in the comments, and I'll do my best to answer them. You guys keep it sexy. Happy Halloween. I will talk to you later.